All right. It's been a while since I've posted on here. I've got a Facebook page called Nathaniel White TV. That's where I put most of my content. But I'm wanting to get more stuff over here on YouTube as well. So, and actually, this is going to be an experiment of doing the same video on both channels. Not transferring the original recording, but I'm just going to do the same one from one to the other. All I'm doing is just the how to play the song Death with Dignity by Sufjan Stevens, and I just figured it out today, and it's complicated, but it's simple at the same time. The basic foundation of it, it's simple, so I'll show you. Let me get some lyrics on here because I'll sing it in a minute. It's not going to be great. It's hard to do his like whisper singing sometimes. Open music. It's a real skill there because getting the pitch right and that kind of whispering voice is pretty difficult actually. Okay, or at least it is for me. Carrie and Lowell. In this song, if you're not familiar with it, actually, if you're not familiar with Sufjan Stevens, check him out. He's great. He's a genius. And if you're not familiar with this album, you'd probably listen to like Illinois and his Michigan albums back in the day. His newer stuff is different. I mean, his style changes like on almost every record, but this one was after Age of Odds, which has some almost like dubstep stuff to it, really industrial sounding. This is still electronic, but it's like very quantized and very calm and subtle. The album actually takes a few listens to start to tune into the real gems that are in there, because it's such a quiet volume that there's some stuff that you can miss. But it's a brilliant, beautiful album. It's a sad album too. It's about his mother passing away, and it's all the songs that he wrote in the wake of her death, and it's super raw, and there's moments of like hope, there's moments of absolute despair, there's moments of just grieving, just real grief, and yeah, it's a great album. And if you need to deal with grief, it's a pretty cathartic album to listen to. Okay. This song is the first track, so okay. So there's a little bit going on there. It's very lush, like a lot of like picking and stuff. I'm not going to do all the parts, just the main part that sticks out. And I think there might be a mandolin on here, but I originally thought this was a mandolin thing, and it might be, but playing it on guitar, it sounds right. So it's higher up, so what you want to do is go to the 7th fret. Well, I don't have any dots on my fretboard, but go to the 7th fret, capo it up there, and you're going to play relative as if you're playing in the key of A. So you can do an A chord right there. All right. Now, what he's doing is he's doing arpeggiations or arpeggios or whatever, and they're descending. And this is where it's actually simple. Once you get the basic concept, he's just doing the same thing on all the chords. So he's doing a descending arpeggiation, and all of the notes that you're going to hit, you're just going to be doing the top 4 strings here. For me, top is high, not literally like altitude top. But yeah, so all the top 4 highest strings there. And yeah, so the first chord you're going to play is just a regular A right there. And you're going to pick descending. So, and I forgot that I had my pick with me. I'm using a big gauge pick here, like a two gauge, just to make sure everything rings out really well. And I'm gonna have a confession here. I can't play this song very well. So I mean, I just learned it and stuff. Doing that over and over again on its own is hard, especially because you can do, there's a couple options. You can do like the straight thing where you just do a down pick on all of them, but there's a lot of economy that's wasted there. And if you notice, every time you go down, you're also going back up again. So you're wasting a lot of motion there. So instead of doing that, you want to do down and up picking. And that can be difficult. Because it takes a lot of precision and stuff. If you want to get some good practice doing that in general, or just for this song specifically, this one's actually pretty easy on the alterations. If you have anything where you have like 1, 2, 3 or whatever, your hand is going to be resetting at a different point, so you're going to be starting on an upstroke on there. But this is just 4 notes, and really you're just doing the same same motion on 2 sets of strings. All right, so you see the top 2 there? You're doing down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. See that? Okay, and then do that same thing on those 2 strings right there. Okay, so if you want to do just basic light practice of it, just keep on doing, and then switch to the other 2. Okay, and you want to do that just so you get used to the picking pattern. And just a quick note on technique and everything. I learned this from a Chris Thiele video from a while back, but if you're not good with like a flat picking yet, like you do a lot of strumming, there's a lot to how you have your hand set up that it's going to make things a lot easier for you in the long run. And it'll be difficult at first because there's going to be some muscles that haven't been worked yet. But once you get it down, it's really worth it, especially for flat picking like this. So the first thing is that you want, if you're holding a fist like this, you want, you see my knuckle on my index finger right here? I've got that up there, and then the pick should come out from your hand like perfectly perpendicular to your hand. So if your hand's like this, then the pick is out that way. It's almost like a beak right there. Okay, and then when you're strumming, you don't want to do, actually give me a second. Okay, so you see that? It's almost like you're picking a lock or turning a key. So the hand motion like that, do 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 do. Not that big, but little motions like that, boom boom. Rather than doing just flat, just straight up and down like that. If you do that, you're gonna be again overworking your arm and everything, and there's a lot of benefit to doing that. So again, put your pick in here, have it point out like a beak, and then you want to have your knuckle kind of up like that, and put your thumb should be straight up and down as well. And then when you're picking, you want to kind of do like you're turning a key, and that's specifically for the picking itself. Like if you're strumming, obviously you want to actually keep your hand very flat. You don't want to strum like this. It's a really bad idea, and you'll probably get carpal tunnel from that. But for the little flat picking, when you're going from string to string, you want to have just a little bit of control right there. Okay, all right, so we start with our simple pattern. And, okay, one thing too, I just noticed this as well, and I still do this to this day, and it's still a hard habit to break, but if you do this and put your pinky on the board right here, you don't want to do that. It's a really bad habit to get in because you're not giving your arm enough mobility there, and you'll end up being reliant on just this range of motion right here. So you want to lift the pinky, tuck it in, and have your hand up here. That's going to be hard at first because that pinky is nice for security, and can make it easy in the beginning to have accuracy, but in the long run, if you're doing flat picking, like more complicated stuff up and down, you don't want to be stuck here. You want to be able to move around on the board there. All right. Now, I do end up having my wrist right here, like the ball of my hand right there, on the top here. I don't think that's too terrible to do all the time, especially if you're like getting in close right there. It just depends on what you're doing, but I don't think that's too bad to do. Yeah. All right. Although you are going to end up getting a bunch of oil on the strings, which could mess up the tone. Okay, so 11 minutes in, let's get going. Now, you want to take the two things there and combine it. Wait. Like I said, I'm not great at it, but that's how you want to do it. So combine them together, and just like with anything that you practice, always start slow and then work your way up. And if you have a metronome to use, that can be helpful. I like to start at like half the speed and then move up in increments, whatever you want to do. So start slow because you want to be accurate first and then fast. If you start with speed, it's going to be hard to get the accuracy, especially because you're going to probably develop bad habits, and your hand is going to want to do what you started with. So, all right. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, so I can practice that. Okay, now with that out of the way, the rest of it, that picking pattern is going to be the same the whole time. So for the rest of this video, my right hand is out of it. We're done, we're good. That picking pattern is going to be the same the entire time. So you don't need to worry about that. The rest of it's going to be on your left hand, and there's no real play on this song at all. It's just chords. He's just holding chords and arpeggiating them. Going to the next chord, arpeggiating that one. Next chord, arpeggiating that one. There's no play, and what I mean by that is like it's not like that. It's just straight. Okay, so here are the chords. I'll just call them out. He's doing an A, and then a D, and then an E, and then he does an F sharp, G sharp, A. And that's the basic pattern for the whole thing. I think there might be some parts that are a little different, but yeah, it's just that same thing over and over. And it sort of, I'll just play it through. So I'm gonna strum it, and I'm gonna try to sing it, and I'm just gonna do it with the chords. And just so I don't get kicked off of YouTube, I have to make sure to do commentary every few seconds here. So I can't play too much of the song, even just singing it myself, without risking getting a strike. Yeah, I've learned my lesson with that one. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna turn the volume down, but Apple Music has the thing where it shows the lyrics on screen and plays it in time, so I'm gonna let that be my guide here. Spirit of my silence, I can hear you. I'm afraid to be near you. I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to begin. Somewhere in the desert, there's a forest and an acre before us, and I don't know where to begin. Yeah, I don't know where to begin. Again, I've lost my strength completely. Hope you're with me. Tired old mare with the wind in your hair. And the distant forest on the table is a real or a fable. Well, I suppose. Oh, I gotta pause before I get a strike. Okay. So there it is. I don't need to sing the rest of it right now, but that's the basic idea there. It's a repeating pattern. So let's talk about the chords. I'm gonna first talk about how he has them configured when he's playing them. One of them might be. One of them, it's very vital that you play it in the configuration that he has it in, because this chord is it's an E chord. Up here sounds totally different tonally from down here. That sounds too. It just doesn't sound right on the song, and I actually messed up and did it earlier, and you might have heard it. So here we go. So the A he's playing is just normal. Okay. The D, you're gonna do a D. Now you're gonna do a little trick here where you're gonna bar the 3 strings right here on the 2nd fret, and then put your index on the D note right there. So you're playing it. It's kind of just a regular D chord. But the reason we're doing that with our fingers is so that we have a free finger to go down and invert the chord. And what we're adding here is, instead of having that open D note, we are putting our ring on the 4th fret for the F sharp note. I think that's the 1st inversion. So that's the third note on the of the chord. So not. Sorry, my capo is new and still getting used to it. Okay, so this sounds very different from this. Not very different, but different enough. You don't want this. You want that, okay? And then when he goes up to the E, E is a whole step up from D. So you're gonna take that same shape that you're holding right here and move it up 1, 2 frets right there, okay? So now you are playing your E chord relative to the capo. All of this is relative to the capo. Okay, so D, E, okay? So we'll play the first part real quick. And then this is where it changes up, and it's the part where he goes, well, I don't know where to begin. So he changes up. We go to what would be a B minor shape relative to the capo. So just like playing, you could borrow it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be playing the bottom 2 notes there at all. But I'm just holding it like this. It's probably easier to do it that way, especially when you're transitioning all these chord shapes here. And if you want my advice to make life easier for you, your ring finger is going to be your anchor. It's not really going to like move that much as you're doing these chords. It's going to stay on the same string. So when you're playing the D, your ring finger is right there. And when you're playing the E, it's right there. And then when you're playing this B minor, it's right there. So, and that B minor shape too, you'll notice, is actually just the D shape with the pinky added there for the B note. So D, B minor, okay? All right, now the next chord is fun, and I love this chord. I love this inversion. I love it all. It's great. The next chord is gonna look like an A chord, but you're gonna take the donut hole out of a donut. All right, and by that I mean you're just gonna make it a major seventh. So instead of having that that full those three on the same fret, you're gonna take the middle note and take it down one fret. Okay, so here's A, and here's this next chord that we're doing. Okay, now this looks like an A major 7. It's not necessarily. If you had the A, like a root A note, yeah, that's an A major 7. But we're doing those 3 notes and then that open E string up there. Okay, this is an inversion of the G sharp minor chord. That little, the hole for the donut hole is your G sharp note, and you have this root inversion right here, which is your 3rd note. Wait, am I doing that right? No, that's your 5th. Wait, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so there you go. You hear that? And then he comes back to the D and then kind of hangs out there for a minute. Okay, so let's hear from the start. So spirit of mine. I'm gonna go back up here and just kind of look at the lyrics. So we do it. So, spirit of my... So, I'll call out the chords. A. Spirit of my silence, I can... D. Hear you. I'm afraid to be... E. Near you. And I don't... B minor. No. G... oh, sorry. G sharp minor... is not G sharp minor, C sharp minor. So relative to the capo, C sharp minor. It's really a G sharp in real life, but it's played like a C sharp minor. So it's easier to think of. And just a note there to make it easy to memorize, just remember, so you got A, and it goes D, and a whole step up to E. And if you play a B minor, C sharp minor is just a whole step up from that. So, okay. Sharp minor, although we're gonna play it different. Okay, and I don't B minor, no. C sharp minor with that special donut hole thing. Where to begin? D, and I don't B minor, no. C sharp minor, where or how this will D. And that's basically it. Cool. And there's a little, there's some other instrumentation in the background. It's really beautiful. It's really ornamental. I'll maybe figure that out another time. I'm not going to make a video out of it. I don't think it's worth it. But there's a little solo with a, it's like an electric piano kind of sound. It's very like muted sounding. It's like, yeah. For that one, it's pretty easy to figure out when you're doing it. So it just follows the vocal melody for the most part. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but there you go. So those are the chords: A, D, E, B minor, C sharp minor, D, B minor, C sharp minor, D, and basically the same thing. Cool, so I got that at 25 minutes here, and when I post this on Facebook, I'm gonna try to cut that time in half. All right, I hope Hope this works out for you. Enjoy.